What's going on, guys and girls? It's GhostRobo. How are you all doing? Today we've got something on the tech side of the spectrum, taking a break from the fall gaming season for just a moment to unbox and review the brand new iPad Pro. This big boy just came out today, and as you can see, it is giant. Even with my hair, it takes up way more space than my head, so we'll have to play around and see what it's like, put some apps on, put some games on, check them out in their big form factor, compare it to a normal size iPad and to an iPhone, see how it'll fit into our daily life, and then give you the goods in terms of up close and personal looks at everything this involves. This is a gold 32 gigabyte. I really wanted the gold 128, but my Best Buys in my area had nothing but 32s, which I don't really understand because the 128 is 4 times the size for $150 more. If you're paying the price for the iPad Pro, I strongly urge you to go to the 128. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to exchange this or something at some point. But right now, let's dive in. Alright, so we will peel open the cellophane wrapping. I love the Apple boxes, and they look really good, like all lined up next to each other. It's kind of fun to see like the spectrum of sizes from like iPhone 4, iPhone 5, iPhone 6, iPad mini, and like MacBook, stuff like that, and just see the variety of weird white glossy boxes that you've acquired over the years. This guy, oh boy! It's really big. It's so... Look! Okay, the iPad is like, I think, a big tablet and like a nice cool device. And then this thing, look at this. Here's my phone. This is the iPhone 6, not the Plus, but the 6. 1, 2, 3, like 3.5, like 2.5 vertically. This thing is like, I feel like I'm looking at a picture frame like, hey, Mona Lisa, how you doing today? Or like, I'm gonna draw some like epic pictures on it. So freaking cool. Okay, so of course, we've got the charging cable, which is nice and long, because this is a big iPad, so I guess they gave you a super long cord. It's a long lightning cable, which actually I'm gonna use for charging my phone in bed, so that is beautiful and perfect. Now I don't have to get up and reach really far, I can just be like, whoa. Probably shouldn't be sleeping with my iPhone. I turn on airplane mode, don't want to have those waves penetrate your skull while you sleep. Little tiny brick for the wall. Then we have the traditional Apple pamphlet, which is filled with probably warranty information, a little startup guide in case you don't know how to turn an iPad. Yeah, it's like, press that big button and do work. And then a very interesting case that kind of looks, it's like got a circle and a square, and it looks like it's like a boombox, be like, oons. Yeah, okay. Now let's take off this, which is the best part, and see what is inside. We're gonna peel off the back wrapping. It smells very fresh and factory-like, and it is gold. It's not rose gold, which I have gotten used to on my iPhone 6s, but man, it is sleek and it is sexy. Look at this thing. It's monstrous. It is really big. Okay, is it on? Does it have power? Okay, so as you can expect, up top there is a power button. On the sides, there's a volume. It does have Touch ID, and it does have a whole lot of goodness on the interior. So let's see if we can power this on and get it going. It is loading up, all loaded up with some apps, like I said, in games, and give you some more details on the specs of this thing. But the first thing you want to know is that it is large. As you can see, it is very big. And now that it's turned on, and so you got the screen size, I'll peel open the smart cover from my iPad here. Okie dokie, I went through the basic setup by myself, and now you get to see the beautiful, bold iPad Pro live and in living color, and the still beautiful iPad Air 1. This is a 9.7-inch screen. This is a 12.9 giga screen. It is so freaking big, but it's really cool. Besides the size differential, this also has a fully laminated screen and anti-reflective coating on it to make for the best viewing experience the iPad has ever delivered. In terms of processing power, the iPad Air 1 boasts an A7 chip, whereas the iPad Pro boasts an A9 chip. So in terms of CPU, this guy is 2.5 times faster. In terms of graphical power, this guy is 5 times faster than the iPad Air 1. In terms of cameras, the FaceTime camera on the front is still the same, but on the back, the iPad Pro has now an 8-megapixel iSight camera, whereas the iPad Air had a 5-megapixel iSight camera. This can also do burst mode for photos and slow-mo for videos, so it's packing much more power, and obviously it should, considering the much bigger body size and the much bigger price. This guy is the most expensive iPad, I believe, to date, and it clocks in quite quite the hefty amount. Like I said, it's $800 for the 32 gig, and then it bumps up to $950 for the 128, which seems to be the spot that everyone wants to be. There's also a version just over $1,000 if you want to add cellular service to it. I don't find that necessary at all. I've got my phone for that. I can always connect the two if I need a little bit of LTE love somewhere on the go, but for the most part, this will be a Wi-Fi device, whether it's on planes, in hotels, or at home. I'm going to have Wi-Fi pretty much everywhere I go. Now, if you've got the iPad Air 2, which is the previous model before the iPad Pro, you'll notice that it has a slightly smaller uptick in terms of performance and whatnot. The iPad Air 2 was about 1.5 times faster processor-wise than the A7 chip in the iPad Air 1, this guy being 2.5, so you can do the math and figure out that it is still an improvement, but it's a little bit smaller than if you did go from an iPad Air 1 or say an iPad mini or an iPad 2 or an original iPad to the iPad Pro, where then you notice massive increases in terms of speed and power. And of course, the iPad Air 2 did also have that 8 megapixel iSight camera and the Touch ID sensor and whatnot. They all have the same battery life. iPad Air 2, and now the iPad Pro are looking at about 9 to 10 hours of battery life, which is pretty darn good, I think. I've never fully exhausted one in a usage or in a sitting or on a flight or anything like that, although I did one time have a 14-hour flight, and that would have burnt out the battery. But I didn't use it the whole time, so it ended up working out a-okay. The on-screen keyboard is absolutely massive here on the iPad Pro and fits in just about everything you need for the best typing experience that Apple has ever delivered on a touchscreen. I like the fact that it's got the numbers up top nice and small, all the letters, a caps lock button, emoji button, everything right there. It also has Siri obviously built in if you'd like to dictate your thoughts or your ideas or your messages for Siri to spell out for you. On the software side of things, there's not a whole lot new here because it's running the same iOS that your previous model iPad or iPhone can run. We'll download some apps and games to explore things down that avenue in a second, but first, the in-hand experience is pretty darn cool. It feels incredibly futuristic and like I've been flung into some space age where I'm scrolling through my giant tablet, maintaining the systems of the spaceship, assigning crew members to different areas, and plotting coordinates for our eventual hyperspace travel. It really is a two-hand device, and the bigness, the hugeness, the massiveness of it to me isn't a turn-off, but rather a turn-on. It's super cool to see something this large. And as you pull up web pages, it gets crazy because we'll just pull up Kotaku here, one of my go-to gaming news sites, and you can see that like not only is it the gorgeous Retina display, but it is massive and big, and so it feels almost Harry Potter-esque, Star Wars, Star Trek-esque, where you've got like this digital newspaper or this digital book or this digital just everything, your life digital, and so you're scrolling through and reading things in quite a large size, so when you pull up an article, the pictures and whatnot are really bold, really big, and really like there. You're not dealing with any sort of small screen or any sort of squinting or any sort of like adjustment. It's just like if you were reading a paper, just like if you were handed some cool sheet with printed pictures from your friend, except these are in Retina quality, which a printer, the ones I had, definitely didn't achieve. We'll pull up some videos here and then we'll dive into the App Store because I think that is where things will be quite different. I'm going to go to YouTube and I'll just pull up my Fallout 4 video and we'll check that out. Okay, this is neat. Before we get to the video, just look how many videos can fit on the screen. Like if you're scrolling through trying to decide what to watch next, look how many options we have. There's like at least what, like 50 videos on screen. You can keep scrolling and get more and more recommendations. All those little tiny videos. Again, this really feels like some futuristic thing. I know it's just an iPad. I know it is doing everything that the past iPads could do, but there's something about this size and it can't be held one-handed. It's not entirely impossible. I have small hands for a 6'3" guy, but I can still balance it just fine in one hand and use my other hand for scrolling, selecting, and touching whatnot. Let's get to the actual video, but I just thought this was like a super cool thing with how many it fits on screen based on the scale.
Hey, you wild mongrel, don't kill my dog boy.
There's some giant Fallout 4 action. It is so big. It looks so clear and good. Like, I know this thing is a little cumbersome based on its size, but it is going to be really fun to like watch videos in bed and use this as just like a... It feels like I'm holding like a what do you call it? Like a placemat or something, like a dinner like tray, and like, oh, just feed me all the content because it's so, first of all, it's so gold, which is really nice, but it's so big, and again, you can watch things and view things very nicely with a two-handed approach, or like one-handed, it's okay. Like if you were eating cereal or something, you can definitely do this one-handed, or if you want to go vertical, it can totally do that as well, and you'll see that it still would be like quite a nice size vertically. You're looking at like an iPad mini screen size vertically there, and again, everything just looks really nice and crisp. It's amazing how pretty. I just forget Retina screens. I've been using, you know, my normal PC, and of course that looks great, but at the size and whatnot, there's nothing quite like the Retina. Here's another app that looks pretty darn cool on the iPad Pro, Twitter. You can scroll through and see a heck of a lot more tweets than normal. That's my feed. And then here we've got the regular feed with a weird picture of poo. How convenient. Videos auto-playing look gorgeous. You can even zoom in on, obviously, the photos and the videos. Borderlands. And then scroll down and again, Battleborn video. That's pretty cool. It's just nice to have such a huge surface area to explore, such a giant screen, so that you're able to see a heck of a lot more and really take in information, I feel, in a quicker and more convenient way because it's right there, it's at a nice size, and you can get through it really quick. And of course, as always, everything functions great. It's super speedy, and the quality you come to expect from Apple and iPads is all here as you would expect. How about some very giant 3s? This was my jam back in the day, and then they came out with all those replicated copies. That was so sad to see the OG developer get screwed over, but nonetheless, it's a super fun game still, and I like the fact that it's super big here. It's very giant. This is, like, again, going to be like the ideal airplane thing for me. Even though it will require a big case, I can slip it in my backpack, and for the way I travel, this will work super great. Won't have to pull out a laptop, won't have to worry about charging that up and losing power quickly. This battery life should be perfect for what I intend to use it for, and I just like it's big, and you can really hold it with one hand. I've gotten really good at that in the last 20-30 minutes or so that I've been exploring. Let's check out another game. How about Downwell? This is one of my favorite iPhone games at the time, and I'm sure it's going to be great on the iPad Pro. Actually, they're wanting me to hold it vertically, or I guess horizontally, which is interesting. If you haven't seen Downwell, you should definitely check this out. Maybe I'll make some gameplay. But it's using kind of a modified on-screen joystick here, and we run this guy down, and he falls in the hole. Downwell, away we go. This game's out on Steam and iPhone as well. I think it might be on Android, I'm not sure. We'll go with the basic mode here. So again, this is not using the full iPad Pro screen, which I wish it was. That would be super sick. But this game is absolutely amazing. You fall and shoot stuff with your gun boots and try not to get hit. Try to land on them. Collect gems. Go in these little windows to grab upgraded gems, upgraded power-ups, and eventually buy stuff and make your way through what is kind of like a falling vertical roguelike, where you are going and seeing how far you can get before you run out of your health meter, which starts at 4, which isn't a whole lot, but you can upgrade it along the way. We'll beat the first level here real quick. I'm not even going to go for upgrades of the best score. I'm just going to get down so you can get some gameplay action. It looks super crisp. Granted, this is pixel art and very 8-bitty, arcadey, but it looks good, and there is a 1-1 complete. Again, very nice and big, and here I can see, like, on-screen controls working better than normal because you do have so much real estate and so much space for your fingers to function and fit on the buttons as they've been intended by the developers. I've got some other stuff downloading. In the meantime, let's check out the camera app and the photos that they take. This is a photo I took on my iPhone. Actually, my most recent Instagram post of me and my puppy outside enjoying the weather. It looks a little bit fuzzy because it is blown up, super huge, but nonetheless, it's kind of cool to be like, hey, let's look at family photos together, and then your grandparents come over and they're squinting. They don't even need to put on their special glasses. They can just see because it's absolutely giant, and how could you miss it from there? I've also got some photos I took with this itself. The iPad Pro, there is my Pikachu 3DS, and as you can see, a very crispy quality image that's using that rear iSight 8 megapixel camera, and then I took a photo of my backyard looking very fall and fun and fresh and freaking gorgeous out there with the setting sun and all the leaves and the trees and whatnot. You can see that the pictures are really good. It's pretty awkward to take photos with this thing, as I'm sure you could have guessed based on its size, but they smartly placed the take picture button right here off to the side in the center, which is convenient, and you can just hold up, aim your photo as you want, and then click away, taking as many snaps as your heart desires. Thanks to the burst mode, it ends up looking pretty good. I have no idea when I would take a picture of this. I would feel like weirdest soccer mom with the most giant phone ever, but again, for viewing photos, I think it's a pretty fun experience. Here's something a bit more colorful. It's Angry Birds 2 looking glorious on the iPad Pro. Super big, and again, games like this that require touch and like precision are going to be really, really awesome on the iPad Pro, because you will have the ability and the capacity, along with the capability, to do whatever you want and probably be a lot more exhibit a lot more prowess in your game playing because you have so much more surface area to work with. I'm trying to get Hearthstone to download here because I think that would be awesome to see all the cards laid out in a bold, big fashion on the iPad Pro. In the meantime, I really wanted to show you guys the Apple Pencil and share it what that could do, but Best Buy doesn't carry it yet, and I have no Apple Store near me. That's the only place you can get it as of now. I was going to improvise and use a tiny 3DS stylus for a little bit of funny, really small, and really tall action, but this thing doesn't register, so I'll either have to order an Apple Pencil or maybe not at all, and I'll just use my finger because that functions just as well. There also are the smart covers for the iPad Pro like you've seen before for the past iPads, as well as that cool keyboard that I really wanted to share with you guys. again, but they didn't carry it at Best Buy. It is like a smart keyboard, so you can kind of set this thing up on an angle and then type. There's a bunch of other third-party cases as well, some that fully encase the iPad Pro as well as deliver a keyboard, some that have like a crazy keyboard with a bunch of colors. Those are coming out later in terms of like backlit keys and whatnot, and then a whole slew of other cases like you come to expect. They just look really interesting and weird because they're so large this time around. They have to fit this 12.9-inch screen plus the extra half-inch or whatever you got going on for the bezel and keep this thing safe. It doesn't weigh a lot at all, which is nice. It fits beautifully. Like, I'm holding this and this is no struggle. They've somehow managed to create a thing that is extra large and also extra fine in terms of its weight for one-handed holding. For two-handed holding, definitely, you're in no risk of this getting heavy at all. It's also perfect for sitting on your lap and kind of typing and playing this way. That's a bit hard to show. I will bring you down awkwardly for a second just so you can see, like, again, you could just like go in here and do things this way, working on scheduling a haircut, or you could go here and check your email, blah, 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 from there, from your lap, and it sits kind of like a flat laptop right there in front of you, yet giving you enough screen real estate and no reflective glare for you to be functional and productive. Hearthstone is taking freaking forever to download, so I'm just going to show you a screenshot here and you can get the sense of how big and fun this will be to play Hearthstone in style like that with the extra size and the extra space to explore and experience the game and all your cards. All in all, I think the iPad Pro is pretty darn sweet. I'm a bit surprised by how cool the extra screen real estate is and how much more impressive, fresh, and fun it makes the apps and games feel. Of course, it is the same iPad, just stretched and skewed into a bigger form factor, so it's not a necessary purchase by any means at all, and I can predict that my sort of like mind-blown excitement right now will inevitably wear off after a week or two of usage, but nonetheless, I still think this is the ideal iPad for sort of exploring the world, for tweeting, for reading email, for writing emails, for browsing the internet, for reading articles, for playing games, for watching movies. The giant form factor combined with the light size and just like the thinness of it, the good cameras, everything, the speed, the graphics, it's pretty darn incredible, and I find it very impressive. It's very expensive. It's not a whole lot of improvement over the iPad Air 2 from a technical side of things, but if you are someone that's like, you know what, I want a really big tablet, I want a really big Apple device to mess around with, then I don't think you can go wrong with this at all. It comes in gold, space gray, and the silver. Now, I will say that some people will find this completely off-putting, and they'd rather have something small. They'd rather have their iPhone or an iPad mini or something that they can squeeze into a smaller pocket of their backpack, or maybe even to their back pocket, all in their pants. But here, for me, like, the kind of usage I want out of it, it feels really cool, and I like that it's so easy to use with one hand. I fully expected this to be a two-handed device all around, and me feeling like a child in a dollhouse, but instead, like, the one-hand platter approach, or like paint approach where you're like holding it in the palm of your hand and then kind of just using your other hand to divide and conquer as you see fit, feels really cool. It does have like a tinge of like Star Wars, Star Trek magic to it, which I really like. But in general, just like the games, the apps, the things that we explored and saw today, they do feel better and cooler as they're bigger. Like, that really, it struck me as surprising, but it's a true thing, at least for me, and you'll have to decide for yourself if that makes sense. In terms of the pencil and the keyboard, I can't review that yet. I assume that they will work well. I assume that they'll be not necessary, but cool additions, but that can be maybe added at a later date. I'll probably tell you guys on Twitter or Instagram or in the comments, something like that. But right now, like, I'm really happy with this. I think it's very, I think it's going to get more usage than my regular iPad for me because it fits a different space. Now I have a big device that can replace a laptop for my travels or for my in-house fun, as opposed to like the mini is like cool and whatnot, but why not use my iPhone? Like, I would rather have a small device, even though the iPhone 6S is substantially larger than past iPhones, the 6 and the 6S. I'd rather have a small and a big than like a small and a little. You know what I mean? Like, for me and for the functionality and productivity and just kind of experience I want, it feels better to have a really big device and then a phone that can sort of fulfill everything else that I want to do. But here, this is really cool. I really like it. I will be making this my primary iPad, and I can see myself actually using it, whereas previous iPad models have sort of gathered dust over the past couple of years. I know in general Apple has wanted to reinvigorate the iPad market because that line just is not producing the results that they're seeing from the MacBook and from the iPhone. I don't know that this will do it because, again, it just is a expanded iPad, and I think most people will be like, wow, like it doesn't have all the functionality that a laptop will deliver. It doesn't have the portability that the true tablets will deliver, and so it'll maybe fit in like this really awkward and kind of non-successful space. I don't know. We'll see. I would predict that this thing doesn't, blow things out of the water from a sales perspective. I think it's super cool, but if I had to guess, sort of my gut tells me that most people will find this a superfluous iPad edition, and we'll be waiting for the next thing where Apple maybe incorporates even more laptop features into it, so it can kind of replace the laptop instead of just substitute in specific situations. Because I'll still use a laptop, obviously, for editing video, for recording video, and for heavier tasks. But for me, this might become my go-to device when I'm not doing YouTube-related stuff, which could be pretty neat. It is really pricey, and you could surely get a far more useful laptop with the money if you went on the Windows side of things. But if you do decide on the iPad Pro, I strongly urge you to grab the 128GB model. That's 4 times the space for only $150 more, and you're gonna need it and want it. You'll want to load the iPad Pro up with apps, games, music, movies, and more, and 128GB will serve your needs far better than 32, which is pretty slim in terms of storage. Hearthstone, which is still downloading by the way, takes up over a gig alone, plus the onboard operating system, all the extra apps that are required, whatnot. You're really running low at 32, so spend the extra 150 and grab the 128GB model. If you're someone that already has a previous iPad model, you're in a real sticky situation. I could say, hey, upgrade, it's really glorious and great, and at the same time I could say, hey, please don't upgrade. Your iPad does everything this guy does, and it's still as big, and it's still as great, and it's still as light, and it's still as fun, and it still has a Retina screen. So that is going to be totally up to you. I can't really provide much advice there. So all in all, that's the iPad Pro. Let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and our look at the golden gargantuan, give it a big thumbs up, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll be curious to see what you guys think of it, especially those of you who already have an iPad or an iPhone or something, if this is the kind of device you would want to see in your hands, or if it seems, like I said, kind of just unnecessary. Either way, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If I had to put a number on it, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10, because for me, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy the bigger form factor, but there's nothing really new to see here. So from a brand new, bold standpoint, not doing a whole lot. Nonetheless, it's a very cool, very solid, very capable device, and I like it a lot. I like you guys a lot as well. So thanks so much for watching. Fantastic day. Until next time, drink so much chocolate. We'll see you all later.